What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. My name is Lucas Wenzel, and today we are talking about 10 players that you should be looking to stash ahead of this weekend's slate and ahead of next week's waivers as well. Before we dive into that list, though, this holiday season, you can win big with Trophy Smack's 36-inch fantasy football trophy giveaway. Just subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel and comment on any video for your chance to claim this impressive symbol of fantasy football glory. Celebrate your championship in festive style, but make sure you turn on notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Kicking off our list this week is Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Wix, who's rostered in 8% of leagues. Wix is coming off a career day in Week 15, hauling in 6 of his 7 targets for 97 yards. He ran 3.13 yards per route, which was 14th best of all wideouts in Week 15, and now he has a chance to step up again in Week 16. As of this recording, both Jaden Reed and Christian Watson have missed practice this week, leaving Wix and teammate Romeo Doubs at the top of the depth chart. You don't love the matchup with Carolina, but someone on this team is going to have to catch the ball in this game, and if you want to even look ahead to Week 17, Wix will get an opportunity to take advantage of a porous Minnesota Vikings secondary. Second on our list is Justice Hill, running back for the Baltimore Ravens, who's rostered in 16% of leagues. Keaton Mitchell's season is unfortunately over after completely tearing his ACL on Sunday, and while Gus Edwards appears to be the primary candidate to take over, Justice Hill could certainly mix in. Through his first 7 games before Keaton Mitchell came into the picture, Hill had caught 3 passes in 4 of 7 games and found the end zone 3 times. Now, I'm not trying to say that Hill is going to be a great plug-and-play stash, but if something were to also happen to Gus Edwards, Justice Hill would be the guy and an immediate starter in fantasy football. For the third straight week now, Washington Commanders wide receiver Curtis Samuel makes this list, as he's rostered in only 39% of leagues. I'm not entirely sure what else Curtis Samuel needs to do to be rostered in more leagues. He scored 19 plus fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. He's drawn 9 or more targets in those games, and he hit pay dirt twice in Week 15 to make up for only 41 receiving yards. Curtis Samuel is not an exciting name. I get it, I really do. But he's clearly the second option in a Commanders offense that's throwing the ball at the highest rate in the NFL this year. As long as Curtis Samuel keeps getting it done, he's worth stashing in your league. The next player on our list is Jerick McKinnon, running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, who's rostered in 42% of leagues. This roster percentage is decently high, but if McKinnon is floating around in your league still, it may be worth scooping him up. As of this recording, there's optimism Isaiah Pacheco suits up in Week 16, which would significantly dampen McKinnon's value. However, McKinnon may still prove to be valuable after scoring 12.7 and 16.1 fantasy points the last 2 weeks. It's not otherworldly to think McKinnon could still get 7 touches in Pacheco's return from injury, and considering he scored in each of his last 2 games, it's not impossible he makes it 3 straight. In my eyes, CEH is the back who takes a bigger hit with Pacheco's return, and if Pacheco does re-injure his shoulder, you already have one of his insurance policies stashed on your bench. Up next is Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Josh Downs, who is rostered in 49% of leagues. This is another high roster percentage, but it's worth at least throwing out there if a manager in your league dropped Downs back onto the waiver wire. I know it's been a disappointing stretch for Josh Downs since the team's bye week. He started off strong in Week 12 with 13 targets, but ever since, he hasn't seen more than 5 in a game, and he hasn't topped 50 receiving yards since Week 8. However, with Michael Pittman dealing with a concussion, there's definitely a chance he's limited on Sunday if he does suit up. That will lead to more snaps and likely targets for Downs, who we've seen command targets earlier on in the season. It may seem like Downs is trending downwards, but it might just be the perfect time to buy back in if he's on your waiver wire. Before I get into my top 5 waiver stashes for Week 16, we want to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. BetterHelp can match you to one of over 30,000 therapists in their network, which gives you access to a wider range of expertise than may be available in your area. If you think you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description of this video or go to betterhelp.com/fantasypros. Our final defense and special team stash of the year for fantasy playoffs is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I'm not stashing them for Sunday's game against the Buccaneers. I'm looking ahead to Week 17 where they draw the Carolina Panthers at home in Jacksonville. We all know the Panthers' offense has been sputtering all season, and this is the perfect matchup to target championship week if you're streaming defenses. You need to stash them right now though, because this video is all about staying ahead of your league mates. And while they think they can snag the Jags defense after a potential down week against Tampa Bay, you'll have already beat them to it. Coming in next is Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Trey Tucker, who's rostered in 0% of leagues. This might feel like we're chasing his week 15 production of 20 fantasy points on 2 touchdowns, but part of me wonders if there's more in store for Trey Tucker. In the team's massacre of the Chargers, Tucker ran over 4.5 yards per route, which was 6th best of all wide receivers, and also led the league with an average depth of target of 28.5 yards. Perhaps the Raiders struck late season gold with the rookie and will look to continue giving him opportunities as their season comes to a close. Our next player is Dallas Cowboys running back Rico Gathers, who's rostered in 10% of leagues. One week we're quick to believe there's standalone value for Rico Gathers, and the next year reminds us why he's Tony Pollard's backup. Regardless, Gathers is one of the most valuable running back stashes in fantasy football. He's shown he can handle double-digit touches. He's shown he can find the end zone. He's shown potential in the receiving game. If anything were to happen to Tony Pollard, Gathers would be the first man up and is a handcuff stash worthy of being rostered in the fantasy playoffs. The next player we'll talk about is Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver for the New York Giants, who's rostered in 4% of leagues. Wan'Dale's best game of the season came in week 14 against the Packers, where he caught 6 of 7 targets for 79 yards and added 36 yards on the ground. Looking at the Giants' schedule to close out the season, they played the Eagles twice and the Rams in between. Over the second half of the season, the Eagles have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points per game to wide receivers, while the Rams have allowed the 6th most. These are 3 straight games where Wan'Dale could have himself fantasy relevant days. And if you need a high upside bench stash, Wan'Dale might be one of your best bets. Wrapping out our list this week is San Francisco 49ers running back Jordan Mason, who's rostered in 2% of leagues. It's all about the running back handcuffs at this point in the season. Jordan Mason is the direct backup to Christian McCaffrey as long as Elijah Mitchell continues to deal with a knee injury. If anything were to happen to CMC and Elijah Mitchell is unavailable, Jordan Mason would take on the lion's share of running back opportunities for the 49ers and would instantly become a league winner. If you're a CMC manager, this might be your most important stash of the season if your championship hopes are still alive. Alrighty y'all, that is all I have for you today. Remember, this holiday season, you can win big with Trophy Smack's 36-inch fantasy football trophy giveaway. Just subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel and comment on any video for your chance to claim this impressive symbol of fantasy football glory. Celebrate your championship in festive style, but make sure you turn on notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to come claim your prize when we announce it.